let's move on now. We're going to stay in the world of politics and the Trump administration because there's controversy within the Department of Health and Human Services, Count them, 6 former U.S. Surgeons General have jointly issued a stark warning pertaining to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s shakeup at the HHS. And this all comes as the CDC has now formally approved his new vaccine agenda, which removes booster mandates for seniors and rolls back traditional recommendations. So now some scientists and health leaders are sounding the alarm. So joining us to discuss this is Joey McFadden. He's a writer and commentator with Young Voices, host of In Response, and Blue co-chair of the Braver Angels New York City Alliance. Thanks so much for spending some time with us on the Live Zone.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
All right. So, Joey, you say science has given way to spectacle. What do you mean by that?
Well, the type of people who RFK Jr. has replaced on the Vaccine Advisory Committee, which is typically staffed by vaccine experts, and he's replaced these experts with people who are either sort of normal establishment doctors who don't have much expertise in vaccine science, who may even openly disagree with him, but don't have really the chops to actually make a stand. And then people who are like total cranks. One of them would be like Robert Malone, who is a doctor who wrote this book called Psy-War. And it really is an example of just a very grandiose, narcissistic person who imagines this kind of dystopia that the government is trying to create. And he's not a vaccine expert. And he imagines the COVID vaccine was very deadly and it was part of this vast conspiracy by the state that's been going on since decades, since the Kennedy assassination. So there's this kind of crankery that is replacing real vaccine expertise. And as a result, now they're no longer recommending that the MMR vaccine be given to children. And it's not based on any scientific evidence, but it's based on this kind of story that con artists are telling, where they're bringing along their followers of 355,000 people on Substack or over 1 million people on X about the story where they're challenging the establishment, they're challenging the elites, they're taking them down. But what they're actually taking down is the public health. And some of them may even believe that they're right about this, even though they don't know that much about it. They just want to take down the establishment that they see as corrupt.
So what advice do you have for people hearing this messaging and wondering about what it means for them? My wife is pregnant right now. We have had conversations with her OBGYN about what this means for our future daughter when it comes to vaccines. What advice do you have for people wondering what they should do next?
I mean, that's such a good question. I think a lot of people feel very confused right now. I would say that we should probably listen to the major medical organizations outside of the government. They have not done a particularly good job messaging in defense of vaccines. I think that maybe they're starting to try to do that now, but I think that we should, listen to them. And I think that, have a conversation with your doctor. Many people are openly standing in opposition to RFK Jr., including people in his agency. So I think, unfortunately, it becomes cloudier and hazier and more difficult to understand what the right decisions are, because now different medical authorities are disagreeing with each other. But I think the best thing to do is to try to find doctors who don't sound like total cranks. And I'm kind of surprised that it's that difficult to do now. But look for multiple different opinions and have a conversation with your own doctor who may not like RFK Jr.
Well, you mentioned some of those institutions like the CDC. You say they may be entering their most fragile era yet. Talk to me about that.
I actually don't think I said that. Where did I say that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Entering the most fragile era yet? I don't think I've ever said that.
Okay. I was going off of some of the suggested questions, but talk to me a little bit about these organizations and what's happening inside of them. If there are people working there who don't necessarily agree, if there are people there who are agreeing with the top-down type things, what impact will that have on organizations like that?
Well, this is a sign of narcissistic leadership. Dysfunctional organizations, when they're taken over by like a narcissistic leader, someone like RFK Jr. And they become dysfunctional, and people will start standing in opposition to what the leader is saying or what the leader is trying to do. So it makes the organization function less well and not exactly serving the public interest, but more so serving the interests of the people on the Vaccine Advisory Committee who may have business interests in saying that vaccines are dangerous or in promoting an alternative lifestyle. Casey Means, who's the nominee for Surgeon General, has this lifestyle brand where she's promoting, like health products. And she doesn't really have great medical credentials to be on the Vaccine Advisory Committee, but she's promoting this sort of alternative lifestyle. And that, so you end up getting, people end up getting bad advice, basically. A lot of what these organizations exist to do is give people good advice about health. And there's a breakdown in that now. And you also see requests from like large numbers of people who work there for RFK Jr. to step down. I mean, that's not an organization that can focus on doing science or medicine.
All right. Joey McFadden, a writer and commentator with Young Voices, host of In Response and Blue co-chair of the Braver Angels NYC Alliance. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone this afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.